Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm Shay Ali here with you on Inspired Online. And tonight it's my honour, pleasure and delight to welcome to you once again Dr. John Gray, who's had the good grace of joining me yet again on Inspired Online. John is an individual that needs no introduction, but I'm going to give you one anyway. He is the author of one of the best-selling relationship books of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. USA Today described it as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. It is just from a personal note, when I've spoken to people who are into personal development, and even those that are not, he's probably the one person that people have actually heard of and has really made a mark in this industry and made a mark on thriving relationships all over the world. Again, on a personal note, I would say one of the things I love about John is not only is he so wise with the wisdom that he shares, but a very warm, kind and wonderful individual who just really loves to teach and share that information. And he also has some great content in the world of health, and also his new book is Beyond Mars and Venus. So for those of you that think that old masculine feminine doesn't quite fit where you're at anymore, he's got information about that as well. So welcome back, Dr. John Gray. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you again. I'm happy to be here.
And I wanted to start, John, we did start the last time by saying if you wanted to share, or if you had to share your wisdom with the world in a nutshell, what would you say? And we talked a lot about people that were in relationships, and we talked a little bit about health also. And then following that interview, I had quite a few messages from people that were single saying, I'm wondering if John can speak to us, particularly in these times where a lot of people are locked down and dating in the world where you're, needing to be socially distant potentially. Are we always going to be single if that's you?
No, I think that this can be, every crisis is an opportunity. There's danger and there's opportunity. And I think for single people, it actually has the biggest opportunity. Couples, if they have good communication skills and insights, they could actually grow together, but it's not happening. So many couples are having a lot of arguments, a lot of feeling of dissatisfaction, fights, and thinking of divorce and actually getting divorces. That's way on the rise, divorce these days.
Right, so.
Around the world, that's the case. It was most evident in China and where the epidemic started. Divorces went from a few every week to right when they started coming out, line of 300 people waiting to get divorced. So it was a big shift.
So,
it's sort of unspoken.
Yeah.
Well, you're about to say, what do I attribute it to? The principle is 90-10. Sometimes I talk about it as 80-20. But if you look at the principle of we can't look to our partner for everything. We have to look to ourselves. We have to love ourselves. We have to find happiness not dependent on an intimate relationship. And when you can find that happiness not dependent on an intimate relationship, then when one comes along, you're able to truly appreciate what's most important. We are so overstimulated and distracted in life by this is new and different, this is new and different, are the sparkles, and there's so much opportunity, there's so much choice, with Tinder, people looking through, what about this person, this person, this person? It's hard to actually bond. And the reality is, it's certainly when you're single right now, you can't go out and find a lot of people in social events, which is a wonderful way to meet people. It's all online. And what happens is it forces us to be alone for a while and look for the happiness without depending on someone. And that's a good thing. This isn't forever. This is a good thing. I wrote the book Men Are From Mars, and which revolutionized relationships in many ways because I was a monk for 9 years.
I love that story. How did you get from being a monk to just being an expert in male and female dynamics?
Well, and as a monk, I was a personal assistant to Maharishi of the Transcendental Meditation movement, and I learned to meditate. I'm a master meditator. I'm really good at it. They did brain research on me and everything, and I had a great teacher. So, but one of the benefits of meditation is learning to not be dependent on anything outside yourself to be happy. So when I entered having relationships from that perspective, I was less judgmental or critical. And when my partner didn't make me happy, rather than looking to them to feel happy, I would come back to myself. The actual transition from monk to expert on relationships was many levels of stages, but having been no sex for 9 years in my 20s, being very sexually active as a teenager, when I came back into the world from being a monk because my brother was bipolar and meditation didn't solve the problem. So I wanted to study psychology. And then when I went back to study psychology, I'm in the world, there were women around, it was tempting. So I said, actually, I remember this one woman I met, and she was a massage therapist, and we were at her place, and she just said, oh, would you like a massage? I said, sure. And she said, well, take off your clothes. I hadn't been naked with a woman in 9 years. I hadn't been touched in that way. So I remember being on the massage table, and she said, so why are you celibate anyway? And the first time I had no reason, my mind was empty. And then that went to one thing. And I found that sex provided another kind of fulfillment. My spiritual meditation was so fulfilling. And one is our spiritual connection. Another is sexual. And so I discovered that, and being single, I now traveled around, had lots of girlfriends. And because I'd been a monk, I had this extra permission to sort of say, hey, I haven't had sex in 9 years. Would you teach me about your body? And women would teach me about what they liked and what they didn't like. Somehow being a monk gave them permission to teach me, gave me permission to ask. And so I thought, wow, this is so amazing. We should all, I learned so much that I didn't know, because sex education really isn't that available to everybody in a positive way like that. So I created seminars where everybody would sit around, and I would give my experiences and talk about what made it great for me and ask everybody else. And the shyness would go away, and people would talk openly about some tick, what turns them on, what doesn't turn them on. And I thought, this is amazing. Everybody should have that. And that was called Making Love Workshop. And that then evolved into, well, in order to sustain sexual passion, so many couples would talk about, I lost the passion. Well, why did they lose the passion? And that came back to a lack of good communication skills. And the symptom of not good communication skills, if I can say it that way, is blame, is criticism, is disapproval, is complaining, it's punishing, it's withholding. So these are tendencies that we do when we're not feeling loved and supported. And for me, what freed me was from reacting back. We tend to be reactive. What's interesting is when you're in a sexual relationship, you're more reactive than in a non-sexual relationship. That's why we have so many problems in intimate relationships. So if you're single right now, you have a chance to live without reactivity for quite a while. And free yourself from this tendency to feel so dependent on someone else to feel good about yourself. You learn how to feel good about yourself, not dependent on someone else. It's a time to create new habits and patterns, which aren't always looking to the opposite sex or to another person, if you're a same-sex person, to feel happy and fulfilled. This is the time to feel happy and fulfilled, and to dig deep and to take responsibility for it. And even if you don't have access to all the wisdom in the world, and although it's all there on the internet, so much wisdom and books and everything, but at this time when you're forced to be unhappy if you don't do something about it. And sometimes people won't do something about it till they suffer enough. So your suffering has a meaning behind it, as you can't blame your partner anymore. You can't blame the opposite sex anymore. You have to look to yourself to find happiness. Then when you get into a relationship, you can apply the new skills that I'm talking about. And you can do this right now over online as well, when you're dating online, without even having that physical contact, which is necessary for deep love. What you can do, though, is practice communication skills. And the essence of the best communication skill is authenticity without trying to change somebody's point of view. And that's hard to do if you're a people pleaser. And generally, if you're single, to some extent, you're looking to someone to make you happy. To the extent you're looking to someone to make you happy, there's a instinctive conditioned response to adjust yourself to be what you think will make you more lovable rather than being yourself. And ironically, adjusting yourself to be more lovable is seeking to control somebody. So when you have this distance of non-sexual relationship with the potential to be a sexual relationship, there's a freedom, more of a freedom to try out new things rather than get caught up in the old conditioned responses.
Fascinating. So, there are plenty of people out there that are not really feeling like they love themselves or feel good in themselves. And also probably have never tried meditation, certainly haven't had the experience that you have of being a monk for 9 years. So where do you start if you're in a place where you're just feeling a bit despondent with life and,
Oh, I love that question. Thank you so much. Because that's really where we want to go during this time of COVID if you're single. And let me add, if you're in a relationship, that's where you want to consciously go. Recognize that any dissatisfaction you have with your partner is your confusion. That's you. You're putting it on them. It's not about them. It's about your inability to be happy and not depend on them. If you can be happy and not depend on them, then what they can provide will be plenty. And it will take you from feeling good to feeling great. We have to thinking our partner makes us happy. They don't. And when they don't, we blame them rather than ourselves. We have to make ourselves happy. Then we can look to them to making us happier. And if you're single, you can look to dating online to become happier for your achievement of learning new ways of interacting with somebody. So let's come back to whether you're single or you're in a relationship, you're living with your partner, what you need to be focusing on now is 90% of your happiness needs to come from choices you make that are not dependent on a romantic partner. This has a good outcome, you'll see. So what can people do? Meditation is one thing. This is easy for me to say, I'm an expert at it. And when I meditate, it's actually easy and I enjoy it and it's fulfilling. There's so many other things that are kind of like looking to yourself to be happy that's not dependent on meditation. Although that's one thing, and I think it's really good. It's like purely depending on yourself. So what you could do, the most basic meditation for people that aren't aware of it is, let's just do one for a few minutes, okay? This will be fun to do. So mine is, people are actually more capable of doing advanced meditations and they get bored with beginner's meditation. Beginner's meditation is simply, and it's still good, is let's just close our eyes for a moment, take a deep breath, relax, take another deep breath, and relax, let it go. Imagine stress just melting away, and take a deep breath, filling up with light, and imagine darkness going out. Using your imagination here to go out of what the reality is. You see, reality is what's in front of us. And whenever we're stressed, we are imagining reality to be worse than it is. Okay, that's the first thing. So we're going to use our imagination to imagine reality being better than it is. Why nation? We don't use it enough in a positive way. Consciously use imagination. So we're going to breathe in, imagine light coming into us. And on exhale, any darkness just flowing out through our fingertips. And then imagine light pouring into us. And any darkness, tension, stress pouring out our fingertips. And we'll breathe in again. Breathing in and letting go. Now, just that one thing, already you can feel, probably you felt a little tingling in your fingertips when we did that.
I did, it was beautiful.
Isn't it nice? So it's just, that becomes a flow of energy and you go into flow as we go into this. So the next thing is the recognition of sort of when people talk, be mindful meditation, it's like be mindful of your breath. Now, why that's important is notice your breathing and notice that it's automatic. Okay, just let your breath be automatic. That is awareness of your breathing. Now, what that does is sends blood flow to the front part of your brain, which is where you don't feel stress. Okay, if blood is going to the front part of your brain, you're able to see that things are not as bad as they look. Okay, that's biology. If you're imagining things to be worse than they are, as we imagine life to be worse than it is. And that's our perspective. I have done 40 years of counseling men and women, and they come into my office and they come in stressed and they leave happier. Why? I mean, the world did not change at all. It's their perception of the world changed. We have to get that we are capable of generating our mood, our well-being, and so forth. It's our imagination. And so we want to use our imagination. But when you simply notice your breathing, breathing is controlled by the unconscious mind. This is programming. So when you're stressed, if you just take your front part of your brain to reflect on your breath, already you're sending blood flow to the front part of your brain and you'll relax more. Then to control your breathing takes it to another level. So you count 4 on the inhale, hold for 4, and then exhale for 4. And then breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and then exhale for 4. And do that for 5 minutes, listening to some nice music. Now go to another level up. Just turn on your fingertips. Okay, and you can do this. Most people couldn't do this 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We can do it very easily. As soon as you do that technique, imagine light pouring in through your fingertips. Energy flowing into your fingertips as you breathe in. And then imagine old stale energy flowing out. Now, what you can do to make it more powerful is as you breathe in, and then you send out the darkness. Imagine that's fertilizer for a flower, and imagine a beautiful flower in front of you. When you breathe in, imagine breathing in the fragrance of the flower, the freshness feeling. And now breathe out darkness, which is fertilizer for the flower. Imagine it just taking that old energy, but it rejuvenates it and it shines more. So it's just simply you're using your imagination in a constructive way rather than continuing to rehearse how bad life is or how bad it's going to be. You're using a different part of your brain, and we can do that. So meditation is like a stop from reality. And for men, it's a lot easier to forget what's bothering them. So when you're breathing in light and love, this beautiful flower, and you're breathing out, exhaling darkness, what you can do is exhale your problems. Just reflect on what your problems are and let it go. And now breathe back in and reflect on your problems. But sometimes your problems are a lot of words. So what you do is you reflect on the emotions of the problem. So just feeling stressed. Okay, what is the emotion that you're feeling? Maybe disappointment. Breathing in light and love. Breathe out the energy of disappointment into the flower. So what you're doing is breathing in, breathing out, do that, listening to some beautiful music. It's easy to do. We want to make meditation a fun, enjoyable thing. You can sit in your bathtub, one of the best things to lower your stress during this time. Oh my gosh. The Egyptian temples, always before you went in to do the prayer in the holy sanctuary, you'd have to go to the bathing ghats and they would do prayers over the water. See, this is all just resonating with nature. It's like sitting in a nice, comfortable chair and the sun is shining. Yeah, people love that. But what they're doing is if they're enjoying the sunshine, they're resonating with that frequency. You can't be resonating with all this negative imagination. So the point I'm saying here is do something you enjoy doing, relaxing and reflecting on what you want to let go of is meditation. Another form of coping with, that's finding happiness within yourself. And it's there. We are naturally positive. It's suddenly the nature of what comes from positivity is I can have everything. I mean, was it a wonderful feeling that I can have it all? I remember for myself, as my birthday is 3 days after Christmas. And so everybody, usually by the time Christmas came along, people were tired of giving presents. So they would give me a Christmas birthday present. You know, it was bigger. And I remember my Aunt Lucille, and Therese says, I'm taking you to the toy store. And she says, I want you to know there's a special gift you get by having your birthday around Christmas, is that when you go and have your birthday after Christmas and you go to the store, everything's on sale and it's half price. That's what it was when I was growing up. So you go to the toy store, and she said, because everything is half price today, you get double. So you can have 2 of anything you want. And I remember her saying that phrase, and it was thrilling to me because I heard a truth that's really true. I can have anything I want. So this is amazing. Now, I know some people get all cynical about me saying that, but it's true. If you
Love it.
believe it, take action, your desires actually change and more in line with what you really need. When what you want is aligned with what you really need, then suddenly your ability to manifest it becomes more easy. But see, when we're distracted with so many choices, well, I could have that man or that woman or this person or that person, and Tinder's going, and then we got TV and we got all these things, so much stimulation, it keeps us from feeling what we really need. And when you feel what you really need, your heart opens and you can feel so much love and appreciation. So many people no longer feel the love for their partner because they've lost touch with that part of them that needs love. And so many single people, they often can't fall in love. They like someone. Men will feel a sexual attraction and then lose it afterwards. Women will feel, well, he's got a good job, he's got this, but I can't fall in love. Well, what that's about is hormonal imbalance. For a woman, she needs literally 20 times higher estrogen. She needs to double her estrogen levels in the presence of a man, and she'll fall in love. And for a man to bond and make a commitment, his testosterone needs to like double in her presence. So what does that look like? He feels, look what I can do. That bumps up his testosterone. She feels, look what he can do for me. It doubles her estrogen. So this is a vulnerability that we need to find. And it all comes from feeling our needs, but we're lost into our wants. Everything is about, I want this, I want this, I want this. That's a more specific way to fulfill a need, but we've forgotten what we need. Why? You know, the Bhagavad-Gita in India, I remember when I was a monk and studying that, they talk about the senses. Our senses have a mind of their own. Okay, so the senses, if I see it, I desire it. And I'm just like this. I'm watching TV, and if I haven't gotten enough nourishment and I see them eating, particularly ice cream or something, a commercial comes on, I go, I want that, I want that. And I'm used to getting everything I want because most of what I want is what I need. Okay, so I live a simple life, even though I have so much abundance. I'm actually quite simple in my needs. But when I get too much into my desires and they're not coming from what I need, then they're either not constructive for me, or the fulfillment of them doesn't create lasting fulfillment, or a little bit unrealistic, and the universe doesn't support it. And so I'm not successful. So it's coming back to, I think this whole kind of COVID, it's really hard for people. I get it. But it's a time to bring us back to what's most important. What do I really, really need? And to come back to what you really, really need, here's another little process that people can do. Because there's a lot of financial pressure on people. I get it. Not everybody's feeling it, but a lot of people are. And it's terrifying. We so much depend on money to get what we want that when we don't have money, then suddenly we're not going to be able to get what we want. And the mind thinks that everything we want is so important for our well-being, but actually it's what we need that's most important to our well-being. So the fear, okay, so comfort comes to us when we're in touch with what we need, because generally what we need is available to us. And if you think what you need is not available to you, then you're looking in the wrong direction. Often we keep saying, oh, I need that, or I need that. And look at what you've got. And right now you're forced to look at what you got. But there's a journey to get there. And often people will suffer a lot to get there if they don't have this technology. So one of the things to do is to look at, what your fears are and be honest to yourself. I'm afraid of not having enough money. I'm afraid of being put out on the street for some people. I'm afraid, of not having what I want. I'm afraid of disappointing others. I'm afraid I can't take care of my children. I'm afraid I'll go further in debt. A lot of real fears that people have. And the reality is those fears are there all the time anyway. Now we're forced to look at them and start to learn to let go of our fear. You can still have the problem without all the fear. It's the fear that makes the problem so unbearable. It's the negative emotion. Quite often when what they're afraid of actually happens, then they kind of go, okay, now I'm going to deal with it. The fear of it happening is that resistance that we feel, and that's so painful. So all I'm talking about is not solving the problem. I'm talking about solving the problem how you feel. So look at what your fears are, be honest to them, and realize that you are generating these fears and you have the power to let go of them. But to find that power takes a little knowing. So when you're afraid, write out all the things you're afraid of. Okay, afraid, fear, 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 fear. And you feel like, oh my God, I'm making my fear greater. No, you're becoming more conscious of what's already there. It's like a hot coal that's burning inside of you, and you're blowing on it a bit. You're not going to do that, only that. You're amping it up to feel what's there so you can find words for it. When it's no longer this sort of restless anxiety and terror inside, you find words for it. Now you're bringing your blood flow to the front part of the brain, like that breathing thing. You're breathing, controlling your breath means this part of the brain's in control of the unconscious. So you come back to more optimism. So you're going to come back to the optimism, but first you have to become aware of what you need to let go of before you can find the other side of it. So you write out what you're afraid of, then write out what you don't want. Now, everything you're afraid of is actually an I don't want. So I'm afraid I'll never find love. I don't want to be alone. Okay. So I'm afraid I won't have enough money is I want to have more money. So you feel this, I don't want. I don't want to go broke. I don't want to get put out on the street. I don't want to have disappoint others. So every fear you have is also an I don't want. So you're going in closer to what you want by first finding what you don't want. Then with that, in a sense, there's a juice, there's an emotional charge in there of what I don't want. Then turn that over to what I do want, and just start writing out what you want, what I want. Don't think about the outcome. Don't think about how you're going to get to that outcome. Just come back to writing out what you want, what you want, you want. So what I want is financial abundance. I want to feel secure. I want to be happy in love. I want to feel good about myself. I want to feel healthy. I want to eat good foods. I want to exercise every day. I want people to like me. I want people to love me. I want a good job. I want a job that pays well. I want to feel abundant in my life. I want to go on vacations and I want to have fun. Just let yourself go into what I want, what I want, what I want, without any negativity stopping it, because you already focused on the negativity. Now you sort of go over to the other side. And then now what you do is you practice your imagination. Now imagine having that. Don't think about how you're going to get it, but imagine having that. And the first emotion I want you to have when you're feeling, okay, now I have that, and I have all this abundance in my life, and I have plenty of money coming, and I have love in my life, and I can be myself, and I'm happy, I enjoy my work, and it pays me good money, and I'm going on wonderful vacations, and I'm having great sex, and all this wonderful. I'm so relieved. Relief is an emotion. We need to feel that emotion more. I'm so glad it's finally over. I'm over it. I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved. I'm relieved I don't have to worry about money. I'm relieved that I have a good job. I'm relieved that I have great sex. I'm relieved that I can be naked and feel safe with someone. I'm relieved that. So go into the details and feel the relief that finally I'm home. I got myself back. See, all imagination, you can go to these places. So I feel relieved. So practice feeling relief. Okay, then the next one, after I'm feeling relief, just see what else comes up. How do you feel? Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful that I have this in my life. I'm grateful I have this in life. I have grateful I have this. So in your imagined state, you're now generating positive feelings. That's what your body needs. That's what your brain needs, is rewiring. And the reason we need that is because when you're in fear, you're rewiring your brain to think of the negative, which is going to happen, rather than the possible positive that could happen. You want to actually rewire your brain so that when you're feeling stress, you're connected to, okay, now I can feel relief because that may not have to happen because I don't know. So in a place of uncertainty, what can happen? So now you're rewiring your brain, focusing on, I feel relief, I feel grateful, and then go into, I feel happy, and let yourself imagine feeling happy. You see, happiness generates hormones. That things produce hormones, and your body starts going back into balance. So that's one really nice exercise. And then come back into present time. And just feeling happy. And then set the intention that today, sometime today, I want to feel happy. That's it, and let it go. Okay, let the magic happen. And then your brain will be looking for sometime today, I want to feel happy, or I want to feel relieved, or I want to feel grateful. 3 very powerful emotions. Now, that's only part of it. I just wanted to focus on that. That's a wonderful tool to do. We looked at meditation. We looked at processing some fears. Now, the next thing is for women to recognize your well-being comes when you're generating more estrogen. That means depending on others. So I might have mentioned this in my last talk, but it's a good thing to revisit.
Absolutely. Please do.
Which is the relationship, in a relationship, you say for 20 minutes, let's ignore each other all day today. And then for 20 minutes, let's come together and play this game, and then ignore each other for a while afterwards. So you're basically saying we're going to get 10% of our fulfillment from each other and 90% not depend on each other. Mm-hmm. And in the game, it helps to balance these male-female hormones. So it's called Genie in the Bottle. He's the genie, all powerful. I can do whatever you wish. And so that makes a man feel very confident, raises his testosterone. And she, because the bottle, and the way you rub the bottle is asking for help. You have to express what you want. And what you want has to be something that he can fulfill during that 20 minutes, not anything out of the 20 minutes. Now, that's so important. I did this beautiful article for a men's magazine and talked about Genie in the Bottle, and they completely got it wrong. Okay, so this is how you get it wrong. She'd say, oh, honey, I'd like you to empty the sinks and wash all those dishes. And she can't do anything for herself. She has to depend on the genie, and she has to keep asking. And then the person put in the article and added to it, and I want you to always remember to empty the sink and never forget. You can't ask him to do that. See, what you're asking him to do is something he can actually do in that 20-minute period. And you want to try to ask as many things as possible. Because for a woman, every time you ask with the anticipation of getting what you want, if it's a big thing or a little thing, it doesn't matter. You're asking with the anticipation of getting what you want. There'll be a little more estrogen. And then you ask again and a little more estrogen. So you want to see how many things you can ask for in that 20 minutes to get him to do for you that you can't do for yourself. So now you can't play that if you don't have a partner, if you're alone at home. So there's other things, but that's something couples can do. It's so good. But what we want to do is, if you're a woman, whenever you're learning something new, if you're learning something new, then you're depending on someone else for something to help you. You'll be producing estrogen. Wow. So taking classes is very, very important. Reading how-to books, or doing classes on gardening, classes on personal growth, what you're doing now, classes on dating, classes on loving more. That's a powerful thing. But you can also do classes on dancing, classes on singing along with other people, increasing a skill. This is very powerful, just as important as great sex, although we wouldn't think that. But it's balancing those hormones that finally, when you have a partner, you can experience one of the great highlights of having an intimate, monogamous relationship is sex. It's mind-blowing sex with, some good sex techniques, and you're not dependent on your partner for your happiness. Then after you're fulfilled, then they can take you higher. Nice. So I remember for me, when I really experienced mind-blowing sex was after I was away from my wife for 3 weeks. Just blew my mind, because I wasn't dependent on a woman to fulfill that need. I was basically celibate and didn't release on my own, but was busy being happy, doing my thing, and went for 3 weeks without her. Mind-blowing intimacy sex. That's because if you don't have what you need, say you don't eat for 2 days, when you eat, it's so good after that. It's so delicious. As a matter of fact, something I do occasionally, just as a fun tip. I mean, you have to comfort yourself, and there are certain comforting foods which are bad for you, but occasionally it's fine. So what I do is, the comforting food for me is ice cream. I love ice cream.
You and me both.
I love ice cream sandwiches. So what I do is I pay for it in advance. I fast. I fast on my superfood shakes. So a protein shake, which is only like about 200 calories, having 2 a day with super minerals. And that makes, I'm not hungry. Okay. I'm drinking a lemonade throughout the day and a superfood shake. So basically I'm getting only like 500 calories in the whole day. So I do that for 1 day or 2 days. So then I go for an ice cream fast. I just eat a whole box of ice cream sandwiches, and no problem at all. You see, the problem with ice cream for me is it raises blood sugar too high. But if you've gone for a day or two with good exercise, that's another thing. I get on my recumbent bike and I exercise, and I lower my calorie level. What that will do is empty out your liver. Your liver can make sugar, and it also stores sugar. So the problem with any of these sweets is they raise your blood sugar too high, and that causes oxidative stress in the brain, which kills neurons in your brain, but also causes over time insulin resistance, so that then even a little sugar causes you to put on fat. Because your body doesn't absorb the sugar just turns into triglycerides, which gets stored as fat that doesn't want to come off your body. So you go low calorie diet, exercise, it empties out your liver. And then what happens is you have your ice cream sandwiches or your ice cream or whatever it is that you want to comfort yourself with, and the liver will absorb it and you don't have high blood sugar. So pay for it and then enjoy it. Oh, do I love it. But then I have to go back to riding a bicycle if I want more. So
you pay for it afterwards too.
I have these little incentives, bicycle, and you've got to somewhat fast the day before. And if you decide to avoid the somewhat fast, you could always do that after, but you'll have to do more of it if you want to get back to your ideal shape again, which I like. I like my ideal shape, which is not this, I can put on weight so fast. So no problem. I have a system down to where I'm able to keep it balanced and occasionally comfort myself like a celebration. And I know some purists who would say, how bad that thinking is that you're going to comfort yourself by giving yourself something that's bad for you. Well, that's the way you think. I don't have that fear. I go, my body can get what it needs from ice cream. Ice cream has got all kinds of good things in it and off high. And so if I can make it so the blood sugar doesn't go too high, all power to me. Now, the second part of this is that's just giving yourself little treats so you're not feeling so deprived in life. We need to do that. And for me, ice cream does it. As I'm talking, what I just realized is I'm going to give myself a better treat. Wonderful talking about what we want and our needs. But when I was a little boy, my parents actually knew that sugar wasn't good for you. So we didn't have sugar as kids. Wow. And my dad would travel. And when she traveled, she would open her special cabinet that was way high that we couldn't get to. And in there, she had graham crackers. Now, graham crackers were said to be the healthy sweet, okay, in my mother's mind. So we would get a graham cracker or two when my dad was gone. So that was like this excitement. So still my brain remembers the thrill of having sugar when I'm not used to getting it. It was like it made a bond. So right now, as these times when you're isolated, you need a little extra comfort food. I've decided what I'm going to do now, rather than buy the ice cream sandwiches that are already made. I'm going to go buy some graham crackers and put ice cream inside and have a graham cracker ice cream. Sounds great to me. Sounds great to me. But what will happen, I know already what will happen. If I have graham crackers in the house and I'm watching TV late at night, this primitive part of the brain takes over and says, must have graham crackers. Very much like an alcoholic would say, I must drink alcohol, or a cocaine addict would say, I must have cocaine. For me, my addiction is just to graham crackers, which I will eat the whole package, but then not buy it, not put it in the house, okay? So we have to avoid certain things, occasionally bring them in, but I will down that. So anyway, what can we do if we're single, we're alone in our homes, or if we're just not able to get the normal stimulation we have? We should recognize this is a difficult time. We can give ourselves a little extra something to comfort ourselves. Now, in that same idea, let's think about our partners when we start to feel a little angry or frustrated with them. Let's give them a little extra comfort as well. Think of your partner when they're not in a loving mood and you're feeling like, why aren't they giving me the love I want? Think of them as kind of like in their wheelchair. You know, if your partner actually had casts on their legs, you wouldn't be saying, if you love me, you would help me, you would stand up and do this for me. We're all kind of in a wheelchair right now. Our best self isn't so immediately available. So particularly those of you in relationships, let's not buy into the imagination of, this is a person I can never get what I need. Because when you go into that place of fight or flight, you don't have access to the memories and the awareness of who they were before. You start to feel like, I'll never be able to get what I need. I don't even know if I'm the right person. Why do I even want to be here? I'll never get what I need. Why do I even try? That's just buying into what happens when we're in fight or flight, remembering and focusing only on negativity. And
Mm.
what an open heart does, if you're not in fight or flight, an open heart can see negativity, but also can balance it with positivity.
Mm.
It doesn't say there's no negativity. Real love is to be able to look at a person's limitations, that they've disappointed you at times, that they're not always able to give you what you need. And that's okay. Those are the opportunities for you to give them more love. And that's what we can do if we understand how men and women truly need love in different ways. Often we don't realize the things are motivated to give the things our partners need most.
Mm. And let's delve into that a little more. You know, you talked at the beginning about there are lots of divorces right now when, you know, people are especially challenged if they're in a relationship. You know, how do you keep that alive in such difficult times? Because I'm imagining a scenario where one person, you use the metaphor of they're in a wheelchair and they're very, very low, and the other person is now feeling impacted by that, and it lowers them as well. So it can be very difficult to then lift yourself up out of that, you know, and I assume it takes one of you to like want to try, but what do you do?
One thing to try is not enough. You need the knowledge of how to stop trying and try to make yourself happy. Whenever, as you're talking, I'm imagining a scenario of one partner tends to be very moody and unhappy, and the other partner says, "You're such a downer. Okay, you know, your negativity brings me down." And that's so easy to say and so wrong, because their negativity is not bringing you down. Their negativity is forcing you, is triggering your own negativity, your own over demandingness of your partner to be happy for you to feel good. So this is a chance for you to recognize, if you can see through the illusion is you make me feel bad, is my demand on you to feel good for me to feel good. I'm going to say it again. I'm demanding you to feel so good for me to feel good. Now, that doesn't make me feel good right away. That's the foundation, okay, for me to take action to change how I feel. But I first got to recognize your negativity is not making me negative. It's my demand that you be positive to make me feel good. I'm like saying, your job is to make me feel good, and you're not doing your job, so I feel awful. So just listen to yourself at that point. You're demanding that which is unrealistic and inaccurate. You know, a relationship is not about your job is, I love you and I want to make you happy. But I know I'm not able to make you happy if you don't first make yourself happy. And then I have the power. And the flip side of that is you don't have to make me happy. I can make myself happy, but you make me happier. And if I'm not happy, my responsibility is not to blame you, but to come back to making myself happy. That's what we have to come back to. And if we're blaming our partner or partner's negativity for our unhappiness, it's so easy to get caught into the victim role unless you realize, wait a second, they're a victim of my demandingness. They're a victim of my control. They're a victim of my neediness. When I need to be more responsible, I need to be a good, loving person and take responsibility for feeling good if my partner can't give me what I need. Because we can be happy as single people. That's the whole point of this, is that, and why I came up with Mars Venus, which is really this beautiful, loving insight, which creates permission for people to be different. It's because I do have a foundation efficiently. I'm still not perfect. My wife would be in a bad mood and I'd be all grumpy that she's in a bad mood. Look at me, look how wonderful I am. I've done all these things for her. I'm John Gray. I'm a great husband. Where's she going to find somebody like me? That's all my ego talking. But I was able to go, oh, aren't I awful right now, demanding of her to be something she's not right now? Let me first come back and find my open heart. And, 9 years as a monk was basically being in quarantine for 9 years. I was in quarantine for 9 years, choosing to be in that place and have to help me find this happiness inside. Some people could be in jail and actually become liberated and free. There's a great movie of a person who was unfairly put in jail, and they called Hurricane, where he feels where they're trying to get him out. And he says, if I get out, that's okay. But I've learned that I have the power to be free, even if I don't get out. This
Mm.
is what, and what he said is my hate, finding forgiveness set me free, because he
Wow.
was unfairly put in jail. But it's a chance for you to find your happiness without depending on others. And sometimes you'll never be able to find it until it's all taken away from you. And
Mm.
that's sort of the point. If we're really good parents, what we do is we don't punish our children by taking things away, but we give them timeouts. If they don't cooperate, then okay, then you need to set to the side and you don't get to be with us for a little while. You take it away. And when
Mm.
you take it away from somebody, it forces them to feel that they're not in control. They can't control other people. That's not what they do. And then you start to feel, when you can't control others, when you can't get someone to give you what you need, then you focus on when you can't get someone to give you what you want. I want this, you should be this way. Then it forces you to come back to, I can't control you, then what can I? And in that place, what you find is what I really need and what I need. And when you feel what you need, you don't tend to be so demanding.
Yeah.
I know that may sound confusing, because when people are so demanding, they're what we call needy. But needy is actually having a need and feeling you're not giving me what I want. Okay, that's particularly for any woman. Your greatest power to bring out the best in a man is to be in touch with the fact that you need him. Well, what do
Mm.
you need him for? So many women today go, well, I can take care of my money. I can take care of my survival. Why do I need a man in my life? What's the point? Maybe it'd be nice to have somebody to have sex with or go to the movies with, but I don't really need a man. It's like having another child. I don't need another child. What a perspective, burnt, you know, because she's been disappointed. You see, when you're
Mm.
disappointed, you start out, I'm in love, and then you don't get your unrealistic expectations fulfilled. Then you feel like I can't get what I need, so I don't need it. I deny my needs for it. And it's estrogen, the most important hormone for women to fall in love and be happy, is feeling I need something. So go
Mm.
without food for 2 days. And when you have your ice cream, boy, does it
Mm.
taste good. But actually, toast tastes amazing. Sometimes I treat myself to toast white bread. Normally I don't eat, but if I'm going to reward myself, I'll make some nice cinnamon toast and put butter on it and a little honey on it. Oh, I feel like I'm having a cake party time, But again,
Fabulous.
it's everything is in moderation. And I'm saying this, and I'm telling you why I'm saying this is because a lot of people who are healthy, who are listening, who would think, oh my God, that's just terrible that you would do that. And that's for the purists. You live in a world of fear. You're afraid of those things. And if
Mm.
you're afraid of those thing, I'm afraid of it, I like that, but I'm afraid of it, you're actually generating an adrenaline all the time and being in a stressed state. So if you're afraid of something, you should have it, indulge in it a little bit, or create the safety situation where it's safe to indulge in it. Because living in fear of this is something I want and I can't have because it's bad for me, you're reinforcing this whole good bad thing as opposed to moderation, appropriateness. It's the
Mm.
whole thing about sex. All these people are taught sex is bad, sex is bad. A guy, he just wants to have sex like he's an animal. Well, first of all, we're all animals. Let's start with that. If you need
Mm.
love, you're an animal as well. You want somebody to hold you and cuddle you and take care of you, you're an animal. Okay, so we all have that. And women who don't have enough estrogen, or they've been conditioned by our society, they look at a man's sexual desire as oh, he's just so selfish, or oh, that's so disgusting. Are you kidding? Sex
Mm.
is the doorway to spiritual evolution to your body when you love someone and have sex with them. Sex
Mm.
without love is unfortunate. For men that are having sex, they're innocent. They want to fulfill that need, that urge inside, just like a woman wants to listen to this talk and learn how to have relationship skills. She's looking for love. Well, men are looking for love too, but they find it primarily for one part of them through sex. And
Mm.
women are just not as immediately available. They're not aware of that until they feel somewhat safe and they feel a relationship. They have more requirements often before they'll feel strong sex urge. Either they have lots of estrogen or they have no estrogen at all. There is a dynamic where a woman can have no that she wants to have sex. That would be, you know, the extreme. What is it when women want to have sex all the time with different partners? That is really no estrogen at all, but living in
Wow.
a place of, I can't get what I need from a man, but I can control him, and I can control him with my sexuality. So they get some sort of temporary release of estrogen, but that's not a healthy relationship. When a woman is in a more healthy state where she wants to feel love and support with one partner, for her to continue feeling sexual desire, she has to get in touch with that need. Why do I need him? So her estrogen levels stay high. And that's where you fall in love. And, you know, nobody falls in love, generally speaking, all the time. You love your partner all the time, but your hormones are changing. So there's always going to be a fluctuation of how deeply I feel my love for my partner, how much I need my partner, how happy I am today. You know, these are things we don't want to try to be in one state. We want to go with the flow through it all, but we get stuck in our negativity quite often because we resist it, thinking it should always be positive, instead of embracing that, you know, relationships go through stages. Today on my Facebook Live, I did a thing on the 4 seasons of love, which I think everybody needs to know, which is, you know, when you fall in love, it's like springtime. And then springtime, you now start to depend on, you're so good that you depend on your partner for love. And that brings up unresolved childhood issues where you were depending on your parents for love. It will just bring
Yes.
it up.
Wow.
You control. So we tend to want to adjust ourselves or adjust our partners to get what we want, because there's this initial rush of love produces a lot of dopamine. That dopamine desensitizes receptor sites. So suddenly it's like all of a sudden you don't know why your partner's not thrilling you, and you start wanting more from your partner. That's where you're starting to want more, is where there's complaining comes in, blaming comes in, withholding love comes in, withholding sex comes in, all kinds of childhood by watching our parents who behave that way sometimes. And so it just comes in. So that's the summer of love. That's where we have to become aware of how we create problems in the relationship, and we have to start weeding. Okay, so my wife is a big gardener, and I remember she'd say, "Oh, I just love weeding." She'd go out in the garden and kneel down and just weed, weed, weed. I realized, yes, she loves weeding me. she always wanted to help me be a better person. You know, this nurturing part of her would come in. But eventually she learned it's all about weeding yourself. That's getting through the summertime, is taking responsibility for the problems, learning how to be better. That's the summertime of love. Then those feelings come back and you feel them again, but at a higher level. You're now feeling like, I'm responsible. I've learned my lessons. I've forgiven. I can give more love. And you think this is going to be permanent. Nope, it's not permanent. That's autumn. Always what follows autumn is winter. Why? Winter is where all the passion goes away. And what to do? It will happen. It happens, but you have to know how to get through winter, and then spring comes back. You can have that passion. You go more deeply in love. So you love your partner, but you don't feel the love. And part of that relationship is that when everything is so good and you feel responsible, then suddenly what happens is you fall into depending on all these outer things to make you feel good. You can now relax and depend on your partner, and they're wonderful. You have all these good feelings. But whenever you go out of yourself, to find balance, you have to come back into yourself. So once again, your relationship loses its ability to fulfill you. You have to come back into yourself to find that fulfillment. So like nature does the same thing. It puts out all the leaves and the flowers and the fruit, but then it comes back to itself and the leaves are gone. And, you know, some trees, they completely go. Other trees, they just don't flower, you know. So we're all a little bit different in terms of how we react to the seasons of love. But generally speaking, this is a universal theme. So many people, when they have abundance in their life, so much that everything's making you happy, then they become depressed. They become drug addicts. You know, famous people, successful people, suddenly they have all these problems. And people who don't have that success or that money go, what are you talking about? Why would you be a drug addict? Why are you getting such a divorce? Why would you, you know, your beautiful wife, a great husband, why would you want to leave them? It's because when people have so much, they lose their own ability to find happiness within. And then the outer world can't make you happier. The outer world can only add to what you're feeling inside. The outer world can also take away what you're feeling inside. If you're depending too much on it, then you're not depending on yourself. So that's the time. And that's what COVID is. This is a time for us to not blame COVID, not blame our partners, not blame ourselves for being in this, not blame your partner if you're married to somebody because they can't make you happy. This is a time to say, hey, it's a time for me to find what are the things I can create? What are the habits? What are the routines I can generate in order to experience greater happiness? And I did talk about that in terms of, for women, it's these classes and it's nurturing nature and it's creating rhythms and routines in your life that aren't based on your partner to generate estrogen. Now, the flip side, what are the routines men need to generate? Well, learning to meditate, learning to go to the gym regularly. You can't go to the gym. So start getting online and learning all of these, push-ups and curl-ups, the basic things, and this movement. You can get your weights if you've got weights in the house. For me, I have my bicycle, so I do that a lot. And then I also do some weight training that I can't do in the gym. For me, what I find as part of my 90% of happiness without depending on my partner is I generally go to the gym once a week and have a trainer. I then do aerobic exercise twice a week. And then I go for walks with my partner, walk the dog as well. These are kind of things for me has been a routine from my body type. Some men's body type, they require more muscle work or aerobic exercise than men. They don't need as much muscle work because they don't have as much muscle mass. So you have to go by what your body's needs are, then your nutritional needs. If you're overeating, okay, it's fun to overeat sometimes. Now we go on a fast. Okay, now you just do some low calorie superfood shake or drink lemonade all day long, take mineral supplements, take a lot of supplements. One of the things I find when I fast is I do a bit more of my supplements because without putting on calories and without stimulating high blood sugar, you can actually get a lot of, I have an herbal drink I drink. It's called Chowa tea. It's got 9 adaptogens. I think anytime somebody's experiencing a shift, and that's what this is, it's going to create a stress on the body. If you look at the wisdom of cultures around the world, there are certain berries and herbs that are known to restore balance to your body when it's out of balance. So Chowa, you can read about it at my website, is one of those. It has all these adaptogens in it. I talk about at my website what those adaptogens are. It's like L-theanine is something that's in green tea that relaxes the brain. There's concentrated vitamin C, which is in goji berries. Goji berries are so good to reduce stress, increase focus, come back to yourself again. There are many, many natural adaptogens that come from nature that help you create hormonal balance inside. And particularly at times of stress, we should look to that. We should take some time to research that. So for men, research things that are going to make you more money outside of COVID or make you more money in COVID. That's what gets men's testosterone going, is how to make more money. When women, you're focusing on how to make more money, you're actually making testosterone. It will get you more money, but it won't give you peace of mind. You need to balance making money with how to process your emotions and feel nurturing, feel relaxed, enjoy yourself more. And men need to focus on anything that will produce more testosterone. Anytime you're exercising for your health, they have to have the intention. That's going to produce more testosterone. Declutter your house, get rid of old things. Detachment. Anytime you're getting rid of things, you're going to increase your testosterone. Women can do some decluttering as a way of becoming more beautiful, but women should look at it from the point of view of, I want to beautify, I want to create space. Men should look at, I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. Denial of needs actually produces testosterone for a while. Wow. Another one is danger. I drive my cars. Okay, I have 3 cars. And Italians, they're all fast. If you don't take, I've got, one's a race car. If you don't take it out, it loses its power. The engine breaks, okay? You've got to clean the valve, so to speak, by taking it out on the highway. And I know many men are thinking, what car is that? It's a convertible Bentley Super Sport. So it's like a luxury.
That sounds lovely.
It goes 205 miles an hour. So I take that out, but in a safe zone, in a relatively safe situation. But regardless, even with my other convertible or my Tesla is so fast. It's amazing.
I'd love to get one of those.
Oh, it's so good. particularly for your male side, because when nobody's around, you can just push it and you go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, you know.
That's my dream.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But what you feel is, as for me, again, not every man's going to feel this, but it's the feeling of power. Look what I can do in a dangerous situation, even though it's not dangerous. See, it's a little paradoxical. If you have confidence, danger is not dangerous. Okay, so anybody, if you actually look at the subconscious mind when you're in the car, the subconscious mind knows at all time you could die. Okay, however, then you're able to stay in that state of low levels of adrenaline, but without it turning into high levels of cortisol. So you want to stay in a low stress state where you're confident. The same thing with muscles. You're stressing your muscles, but you're able to lift the weights. You're not lifting weights you can't lift. You're doing what you can do, and you're pushing the limit. That always, if you don't go into cortisol levels, just a little adrenaline, and you're feeling safe. Because what happens when you drive a little faster than your comfort zone, your mind becomes hyper-focused, okay? Dopamine gets produced. And then if you drive a little bit faster and a little bit faster, then you start to notice stress. That's cortisol. And so you can actually feel what is adrenaline and what is cortisol and what is simply testosterone. Testosterone is where you're driving a car in a relatively fast state, but no adrenaline at all. And that's the perfect place to be. And sometimes you get into that adrenaline state, and that's fun as well. So I'll go there a little bit, but always pushing the limit, getting the plumbing going. Regular sex, if you have a partner, is also a big testosterone producer, but too much ejaculation will actually lower your testosterone. So it's important. If you have too much sex and you're a man, then you lose interest in sex. And when you lose interest in sex with your partner, you're vulnerable to becoming addicted to porn. Okay, because internet porn will always give you a boost of testosterone when your partner won't. Because every time you ejaculate with your partner, there's a recovery period you have to go through. And that recovery period is where your testosterone levels will go low after sex. Then they have to build up. And if you, not that you always have to do this, but if you're finding your sex is not fantastically exciting with your partner and you love them, what you do is you have sex on Saturday night, and for 6 days you don't ejaculate. Then it's this is a biological reality. On the 7th day, if you're a man, your testosterone levels will double. And that's what we'll do, is get back into the zone where your testosterone levels are coming up, and it's helping you feel more masculine again, more powerful again, that you can make a difference. And, when I say feeling more powerful, I know some people hear that as, some man who's going to be powerful and hurt people. Actually, power is when you have confidence, you don't have to control others. It's only when men feel powerless that they do bad things. And this is biologically true as well. If you measure aggression in a man as opposed to assertiveness, which is in service, if you have aggression, which turns into violence, if you actually measure that in a man's body, his testosterone is going down and his estrogen is going up. There's a conversion. Function. Man loses confidence. So if a man feels insecure deep inside, he pretends to be more confident, but actually it's bravado. And you see this a lot playing out in politics a lot. We're afraid, so we have to act tougher. You see it in relationships where men will feel threatened by a woman's complaints, and he becomes so self-righteous and so forth. And as a man, what I need to know is anytime I'm angry, defensive, I'm insecure. So find your security, because no woman's going to respect you, appreciate you, if you're so sensitive that you have to get that defensive about things. What women are attracted to is a man with a testosterone. What men are attracted to is a woman with estrogen. And if a man is out of work, it's harder for him to produce the testosterone. So that's where he needs these other things. He can do his physical things. He can solve problems, challenged. And by overcoming challenges, he can rebuild his testosterone. Also, hobbies and playing games is good too. Always there's that win-lose thing inside of a game that will produce competition, produces testosterone as well, particularly if it's something you can win at.
Wonderful.
So those are some ideas of what we can do during COVID, whether we're single or in a relationship, understanding that balancing our hormones through these types of different activities can help us find a fulfillment so we're not so needy that our partners fulfill us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I'm wondering if I can ask one more question that I had from my audience, if I may. This is a question of a bit of a different nature. We're going to go to the early stages of dating, but it's something that's come up quite a lot recently amongst some of my friends, and it's who picks up the bill when you go on a date, because there's the equality argument, and some people are very passionate about, well, it should always be 50-50, and there's married people that have always had 50-50 on dates. And then there's some of my female friends that are just like, well, if he makes me go 50-50, it's fine, I can afford it, but the attraction has sort of died. So what's your take on that?
Oh, I think you just said it. I'm in agreement with that. Is, you know, if a man pays for a woman's meal, he pays for the theater, he pays for the gasoline to drive her somewhere. Anything a man does for a woman is going to help turn her on, period. So when you do 50-50, you're in a friendship. That's just the reality. Okay. That's what friends do, is we pick up the bill. Actually, as guys, what friends do is we take turns. You know, this time I'll cover the bill. Next time he'll cover the bill. Women, when they get together, they're very meticulous about, okay, I'm going to pay for my share. You're going to pay for your share. I've seen women get in big conversations. Oh, no, you shouldn't pay more. I should pay more. I ordered this, whatever. That's women. That's what they do as a friendship level. And then for men, typically it's, you know, we split the bill. You know, we give 2 credit cards. If I'm having dinner with a friend, we split the bill, or, hey, I'll take care of it this time. You take care of it next time. There's kind of a scorekeeping with that idea. But for romance, if you want to generate romance, it's he pays and she enjoys receiving and doesn't feel obligation, but recognizing that her receiving a gift from him delights her, which that delight repays him. Okay. You know, women want to be reciprocal, and often women don't want a man to pay because the woman then feels a pressure to respond sexually for him, because certainly men want sex. So, but what she needs to recognize is that I can receive someone paying for my meal and not feel pressured to have sex, because I'm not a prostitute. I don't take money to have sex. Just recognize what it is. I'm not pressured to have sex with you. I enjoy having a man take care of me and pay for the meal. And my enjoyment is the repayment if there's a reciprocity. See, reciprocity between men and women, we have to get it, is that men provide and women enjoy. That's the reciprocity. You don't have to do things for a man. Back is the worst thing in the world. Then you just reduced yourself to impersonal sex. You know, it's like you're being bought, as opposed to you have sex because you want to have sex, not because you're obligated to have sex. But the reality is that the more things he can do for you, the more you're going to want to have sex with him. And that's the juice of relationships, is she feels cared for and loved. That's the juice of it. And when she feels loved, he feels appreciated. That's the juice of that. And then when she feels so safe and open, she wants to connect with him sexually. That's the big juice for him. And it should also be the big juice for her. You know, the last thing I would want is a woman to have sex with me obligated. And you know, this is this sad situation for men, which is that they go online and women pretend to want to have sex with them, and they release their energy. And it's just like throwing your energy to the wind. You know, when you have somebody that you earned your way in by being caring for her, interacting with her, she feels a relationship with you, there's a feeling of mutual bonding. Then you have sex, you give your energy to her if you're a man, and it comes right back to you. And she opens herself up, and she's opening herself up because he has given so much to her. So she's, in a sense, reciprocity. She's giving back, basically. When if a woman gives to get, she loses energy. If a man gives to get and gets, he doesn't lose energy. So we have different energy systems in our body. So the solution is, now let's do practicality. What do? You're on a first date. You haven't had a discussion about who pays and who doesn't pay. And a man says, I'll take the check. Then a woman should smile, in my opinion, smile and go, oh, thank you. That's really great. Now, if the check is sitting there on the table and he doesn't grab it, and you've already gone to the bathroom and it still isn't paid, then you see it there as, oh, would you like to share the tip? Okay. Are you wanting to share the, what do you say? The bill?
Mm.
Are you wanting to share the bill? And he says, yes. And you say, okay, and let it go. Then you have to create other opportunities for him to do things for you. And at some point have a conversation with him where you say, I know that, we share the bill and that's perfectly fine for me because it's not like I don't have no money to pay for it. But I want you to know, for me, even though we both can afford paying for the meal, when a man buys the meal, it makes me feel cared for. And I don't know, it just does something to make me feel really good. Let him know, because a lot of men are just sort of, we're so trainable as men. Women are more like cats, not trainable, but men are so trainable. And women, you've trained us that it's insulting if we offer to pay the meal. This is, and women are being trained by society to some extent, the cultural conditioning that you're weak and you'll be unlovable, pay the meal, or that you're obligated to be with him. This is such bad conditioning. It's your gift to him. You're going on a date. A date is where you get an opportunity to give someone something and also receive something back. What he can give is provide something for you. And what you can give is something he needs much more than you paying the bill. And what you need to be is to be loving and appreciative that someone gave to you. It's the art of receiving. So a lot of this conditioning, literally it's men who open doors are infantizing women as if, that's the infantizing of women. That's called chivalry. That's called romance. That's providing. That's being on your male side, wanting to help her. I'll tell you what is infantizing women is that when women claim to cities and they don't let the man defend himself at all. And they basically say, this is literally when they say 1 out of 3 women are raped in America, that study, I'll tell you what that study is. It was commissioned by our government and people filled out a form. And if you had sex and you were non-consenting, that was called rape, and that is rape. But then if you had sexual activity with a man under the influence of alcohol, have you ever had sexual activity with a man, even physical touching and not sex, or even affection of a kiss, and a consenting kiss under the influence of alcohol in that study was considered a rape.
Oh, wow.
So women are getting all this complete misinformation that meant you're going to get raped. You're 1 out of 3 women, you're going to get raped. It's not true. It's not true. Certainly some women do get raped. It's a horrible thing. The man should be tried. But what in America with the Obama administration, what they did is they passed this rule that says if a woman accuses a man of raping her, the trial will not happen in the normal circumstance, is that she will present her case to the university and he has no representation. This is accusation with no representation.
Wow.
And infantizing a woman to say that she's raped just because she was under the influence of alcohol says, oh, if she's a man under the influence of alcohol, he has the power and the responsibility. It's basically saying there's no accountability for women, and that's infantizing them. And, and rape's a horrible thing. Without a doubt, it happens, and there should be trials, and it should be according to the rules of trials. We shouldn't say that men cannot represent themselves. And I understand it's an awful thing in our society where if you cry out rape, then you get attacked, and that's what awful lawyers do. And that's a bad thing to do, is to discredit the person who's expressing what happened. But it is true. Sometimes people just express what didn't happen, and these are problems with our legal system without a doubt. But it infantizes a woman to say that whatever she says, you can't question it, as if somehow just because she's a woman, what she says is true, and just because he's a man, what he says is not true. No, we have court of law for that. And that's always been the case. That what changed us from the world where, the king could say you're bad and throw you into jail. And you can say, wait a second, king, you can't throw me into jail. I've got a lawyer and I have the rights to defend myself by a trial of peers. And that's been thrown out. And, this is where we have to recognize women are not these powerless little girls. They're quite capable of defending themselves and have lawyers to accuse people of crime and so forth. But we just go too far to the extreme. And then, we have the other thing of infantizing everybody, both men and women, with all this political correctness at universities in America. they have these safe zones, okay, where nobody can say anything that doesn't agree with your point of view. And they won't let me come to universities because I'm a sexist, because I disagree with that knowledge, that the whole body of knowledge that says that men and women are the same. I've occasionally gone to universities and given talks, and there's been riots outside. John Gray's a
Oh
rapist.
my God.
You know, I didn't know rapist. It just goes from I'm a sexist and every sexist is a rapist, and then defending that, you know, won't let people into the talk. I've had them come into the talk with their signs and be disruptive and everything. And what are you talking about here? You know, it has a happy ending. It just gets me more attention because it's so absurd. My whole intent and my whole knowledge is only help people, but they can misinterpret it and say that anybody who says that men and women are different is a sexist, and that we're all the same. And that's the sexism. That's narcissism, to think that everybody has to be like you. Everybody has to think the way you do. And if they think differently, then they're wrong. And now we have racism. You know, all this is coming about as we're trying to demand everybody to be the same, rather than allowing people to recognize that we're not the same and that we're different. And, you know, then we have the whole wonderful movements of the rainbow, you know, gay people, you know, we're different from you. We can have our thing. We can do this. And what's funny is that all those people at the university who say, yes, gay is good, trans is good, alternative lifestyle is good. But hey, you say men and women are different, you can't do that. It's craziness. Our world has become crazy now. And you got me all, I got off on this whole little run because we're talking about this simple thing of old-fashioned ideas of a man taking a woman out on a date. And isn't it wonderful to give a man an opportunity to show his stuff? Look what he can do for you, show his positive intentions, so a woman can begin to feel like, oh, this is a guy I could trust. This is a guy who cares. This is somebody I can depend on. This is not just somebody who wants what he wants, but he's also willing to give to get it. That's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with a man wanting to give in order to have you love him. And women do it all the time, and that's a mistake for women, not a mistake for men. There's a different polarity. If I'm giving with the anticipation of getting, my testosterone goes up, which makes me more and more selfless, ironically. And, you know, this is the high testosterone in a man where he'll give up his life for women. We're the amazing selfless creatures if you give us enough stimulation for testosterone. So to give with the anticipation of getting back, not the demand, but the anticipation, that's beautiful. And for women to stop giving with the anticipation of getting, but instead to practice giving back from what you receive. So first you have to receive and then see what you want to give back. But women get into this whole thing of, oh, I'll give in order to get, and that's a mistake. And that's women who often want to have sex right away in a relationship to get the guy to catch the guy. And the irony is you catch his full attention and then he doesn't call you back. So if you're this woman, so many women say, oh, you know, I was with a guy, went on a date and he never called back. He seemed like he had a good time. Subtext, we had sex and he didn't call back. That's because you had sex because you wanted to catch him, as opposed to he really earned his way in. If he earns his way in, then he's bonded with you emotionally, mentally. Then you feel safe to open up to him physically. Then he has a bond with you. So physically after sex, men's testosterone levels drop. So sex can't do it. You don't have the power to turn a man on just by being naked. And you do have that power. But if his testosterone level is spent, if he's done it, you lose that power. But you have the power of your femininity in your heart, which is your ability to appreciate, your ability to trust, your ability to accept. You have the power in your mind, the ability to admire, and appreciate his thinking process and his gifts and talents and so forth. So he feels that he has that bond, so that when he loses the sexual bond temporarily, there's something to hold him there. But if he doesn't have all the other things set, there's nothing to hold him there. So very quickly he's off. And now he's depending on someone else to fulfill that need because you can't. That's a challenge. So in today's dating practices, so much pressure. Excuse me, I know this looks really funny, but I get it.
That's okay. It happens.
There's so much pressure. There's so much pressure on women to satisfy men's sexual urges, you know, because we're all sexually free, we're all liberated. Women want sex, men want sex. Yes, yes, yes. But the reality is that if you have sex and you have no intimacy prior to that, often a man loses interest in you because he has no connection and bond. And so you have to slow it down. But men's ego is based on, well, did you get laid? You know, this whole thing. Did you get lucky? You know, like, did he get lucky? As opposed to, did she get lucky? You know, so did he get lucky? There's a whole pressure on men. So their ego gets really bent down when she's not interested in having sex with them, doesn't have sex. So what you have to know, women, is simply to say to a man when he's making all those moves, then you have to stop it. You stop it at a certain point. It's okay to stop it. But the way you stop it is very important. It needs to be, oh, you know, I love sex. I'd love to have sex with you, but I'm just not ready. I need to go slower. All he needs to hear, his little ears like a horse will turn right to you when you say, I'd love to have sex with you. That's all he needs for his ego. Is that, okay, she wants to have sex with you. She just needs to go slow. Okay. So that's all he needs, is some saving grace for that. And just to sort of anchor that in, I like to tell stories how I learned things, but it was one of the things in my marriage with Bonnie was a challenge in the beginning, is that she would get so overwhelmed doing things. And I'd ask her to do something, and then she'd give me all the reasons why she's so busy, and I got to do this, and I got to do this, just to say no. And I would just have her say, no, I can't do that. You know, I'm too busy, can't do it. But she'd want to give me the details on everything that was overwhelming her, so that she was, in a sense, giving herself permission to be a loving person and also say no. So setting boundaries was hard for her. And it's hard for a lot of women. And I have to say, if you have issues with setting boundary or getting what you want from men, I have a whole class on that, a whole 6-week class. It's called the you time, we time, me time system. And my daughter, Lauren, my adult daughter, Lauren, who's teaching this for 10 years, put it together with me. And it's fantastic. You can go to my website and sign up and take it. It's an online class. You can take it anytime you want. And it's got lessons and fact sheets and quizzes and the whole shebang and exercise. But where I was with this whole thing, I said that was a class of learning how to do that. I kind of went into that class and I just forgot what my point I was just making. Do you remember what I was just saying? You forgot too.
I was getting engrossed in you.
I know. Sometimes we go too far, and I just wanted to solve that problem, and I didn't finish the other one. But I don't remember what I was just talking about. I know I'm talking about setting boundaries before that. I'll take a little
You were talking about backing up way back. You were talking about you know, women thinking that you need to give everything straight away. You need to sleep with them straight away.
That's all I need to know is come back to sex, because she doesn't actually talk about the sex part in her class. So I lost that one. But you got to set your boundaries. There's so much pressure. And I wanted to tell you a story from my life where I learned about this. And so Bonnie had a hard time saying no. So I said, so Bonnie, look, you can say no to me. It's perfectly fine. You know, you just have to become comfortable. I ask for something, just say, no, I'm busy. That's it. You could also say, no, I'd love to, I can't. That's another thing women can practice. If you have a hard time saying no, some women don't, but many women do, and they overextend themselves. So how to set a boundary? Oh, I'd love to, but I can't. That's enough. Just simple, keep it short. So that night I was making some moves to have sex, and she said, and so she just said, I said, so let's have sex. And she said, no. And I went, why? Don't you want to have sex? She says, well, I'm trying to practice saying no. And I said, can't we practice saying no on everything other than sex? And she said, no. And I said, why? And she says, because I know sex is the most important thing to you. So I'm going to practice saying no. And I said, oh. And then I said, okay, so a part of you does want to have sex with me. And she says, of course a part of me wants to have sex with you. Certainly a part of me always wants to have sex with you, John. And then I said, okay, I can go to sleep with that. So I saw how clearly I just needed to know there was a part of her that wants to have sex. And so it sets a man at ease as opposed to being totally rejected. If you just simply say, you could also do, oh, you know, want to have sex. Yeah, a part of me wants to have sex, but I really can't. I have to go a little slower. And then you can, even if you're not that much in the mood at all with this guy, you can say, it's a part of you way, way down inside that wants to have sex. Part of me wants to have sex with you, but I know I get into trouble when I have sex too soon. And he might interview you more on that. Well, why? Why can't you? Don't you want to? And you just come back to, you know, I just know what works for me. That's all. That's all you have to say. I know what works for me. And, you know, his job, just to know, his job is to see, is that really true? Is that really true? And you just have to peacefully set that boundary, not have to get upset about or feel like, oh, you're pushing too hard. Don't make him wrong. Just say, I'm so flattered, and I part of me would love to have sex with you too. And this isn't the time yet. I need to get to know you more. I need to spend more time with you. Then it'll be really great. I know what makes great sex for me. It's getting to know you. Done. And you getting to know me is also is really the real reason for great sex, is when you feel seen and heard and loved and adored and liked and safe, then the juices go down and you actually experience how much you enjoy sex. And that's the reason men bond with you the most. And I'll tell you, 99% of the time when men have affairs, which is a big deal in my business, your partner has an affair, she has an affair, he has an affair, either way, you're having affairs because you're not having great sex in the bedroom. And you can blame not having great sex in the bedroom to what's happening outside the bedroom. That's part of it. But a big part of it, 50% of every romantic relationship, is what do you do in the bedroom? And being responsible to making sure as a woman that you're enjoying sex, and what you have to learn to do that, what you have to get to do that. Your estrogen levels have to double to fully enjoy sex. And if you can enjoy sex as much as he enjoys sex, then you're going to have a man who wants to have sex with you again and again and again. That's what it's about. But couples lose that interest. Somebody goes out and has sex because it makes them feel alive. Then we blame that person for enjoying themselves. So we need to recognize, I want to enjoy myself with you. And so I want to learn how to do that. That's if we can start taking responsibility for great sex life, we won't have all these marriages ending. But for having a great sex life, 50% of it is, how do you communicate outside the bedroom? That's very important too. Are we giving each other what we emotionally need so that we feel safe in the bedroom? But once you're in the bedroom, you have to have good sexual skills. Men, simple put, learn how to do this, but don't have an orgasm until she's had one or two, period. That's the rule. If you orgasm before her, there's nothing for her. Okay. She's just masturbating, basically. Your energy is not there. Women go higher and higher in estrogen. As your testosterone levels go higher, her estrogen levels go higher. As her estrogen goes higher, your testosterone goes higher. And if you're addicted to ejaculating so soon, and there's an addiction, that's a challenge many men have, is the addiction to release. They have to have that release. Then you end up having your release before she has her orgasm. And that will kill your sex life as well. So we need to have etiquette in the bedroom. And so I teach that in my book. Was my book on that one. It's called Behind Me. It's Mars, Venus in the Bedroom.
Yes, indeed. John, thank you so much for all your time today. You've taken us through, I think, firstly, primarily our relationship with ourselves. So whether you're single or whether you're in a relationship, that primary relationship is really about loving yourself and nurturing yourself, so you have enough left to give to someone else if you have someone else there. And if you don't, then this is great practice time for you to learn that. And also from what men can do, women can do. We've talked about meditation. We've talked about women asking for help and that increasing their estrogen. We've talked about men playing games, winning at stuff, and that increasing their testosterone. We talked a little bit about bedroom skills and how to set boundaries there between men and women. And we've talked also about health and how to nurture ourselves and give ourselves those little treats if we balance that out with fasting and healthy habits. So thank you so much. This is just very rich with wisdom and content all over again. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share, or how can people reach out to you and find out more?
Thank you so much for that wonderful seminar. I mean, that's something that we did. We really did the whole gamut today. It was quite fun.
We did. Yeah, I loved it.
So if people, there's so much more to learn and to be reinforced and to be validated and so forth at marsvenus.com. There's just a wealth of free blogs. There's my daughter's course, which is on the title, How to Get More Me Time, is a part of that course. I have a course on sexuality. That's also an online course. I think that's available to you. There's so many there's just so many free videos. Also my website, marsvenus.com. There's even a health food store there where I give recommendations for different products you would find online for health foods. And some
Mhm.
I formulated as well, good supplements. That's all there. Plus, I do Facebook Live. I got a lot of Facebook Live things at John Gray, Mars Venus. You can check that out as well. And I look forward to seeing you there. And thank you so much for having me be on your show and part of this. It's really a gift to me to be able to share this. I love being able to share this. We're all
Oh,
here to help the world. And
absolutely.
you helped me by giving me an opportunity to share these ideas. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a real gift to me personally, of being an admirer of your work for so long, and to the whole inspired community. So very, very grateful to you, and keep shining and inspiring the world.
Thank you so much.